here we are inside of season number 10 of the In Our Tribe podcast. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I'm your host, Adrian Ruiz, Executive Director of YDN and Program Director of Creciente. And I am here today with the Programs Director of the one and only NorCal Resist, Miss Giselle Garcia. Hello.
Hi, Adrian. Thank you for having me.
I'm blessed. I'm blessed to have you here. Like, seriously, it's funny because I met you, like, what, 2 months ago? No, a little bit longer, right? It was the end of last year.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, man, game recognized game. I love what you're about. I love everything that you do. And, yeah, we're going to be doing some work coming up soon. And I'm like, we got to have her on the podcast. We have to do it. Just Julian and I said it at the same time. We're like, podcast. We're like, podcast. Yeah. So here we are.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much.
We always start off our show with what are people listening to, because we hope that people are listening to something. But some people don't. Some people are more readers. Some people are more. But is there something that you listen to often these days?
Yeah, I actually really like more like investigative journalism sometimes. I really like the Reveal podcast. It just kind of gets my brain going,
Yeah.
and the adrenaline going, but
Yeah.
not like that true crime stuff. It's a little too much.
I get it.
Yeah.
So, found out not too long ago that you and I share something interesting. We are both have our bloodline go through Nicaragua.
Nicaragua.
Yes.
Nicaraguita.
Yes. And San Francisco.
And St. Luke's down to
And
the same
St.
hospital.
Luke's Hospital. That's so crazy. That is really neat. I love that. So, NorCal Resist, man, you all are on the map. There is a lot going on. Can you share with us a little bit about the mission and vision, values of NorCal Resist and how you all live that out every day?
Yeah, NorCal Resist is an incredible grassroots project. It is community led. It is dedicated to making sure that we are addressing any gaps in vulnerability that we see in the community. And so when we identify a problem, our goal is to address that quickly. So, for example, when the arrest started happening at the immigration court on May 22nd of 2025,
Yeah.
we started our Court Watch program on May 23rd, right?
Wow.
We don't skip a beat. We're just ready to act.
Yeah. Yeah. And I want to get into that because a lot of people talk a good game. You all are in it. I mean, you are in it. You're 10 toes deep in this thing, right? I want to ask you, when you think about the values of NorCal Resist, let's talk about your values a little bit and how do they intersect? Because, man, you are so down for this. It's not even funny, and I'm sure the rest of the team is as well. But it has to be in some sort of values-driven initiative there, right?
It is. I don't think any of us could do this work with this level of commitment and the level of risk that we're willing to take if we didn't share the values of the organization. And quite frankly, for me, NorCal Resist is more than a job. It's a political organizing home, right? And it's understanding that we are okay and we want to be on the front lines of a revolution, right? Wow. And that means that we do carry a lot of risk. That means that sometimes we're facing ICE agents who are aggressive. That means that some of our people have been pinned up against walls by ICE, have been beaten by, opposition on the other side of the political spectrum, and we still show up the next day. So I don't think I could do it if I didn't feel supported by the organization every single day. It's not scandalous or controversial to say, abolish ICE, right? I'm not tipping around any toes about my true values because it's a reflection of the whole organization.
Absolutely that. You talk about risk, right? And that's what I say. Y'all are 10 toes deep. Ooh, like, how do you deal with this? Like, how do you deal with people that seem heartless?
Yeah. I think one of the life-changing moments for me was when I was going with someone to their ICE check-in. And they were quite literally taken from my arms, and then the door was shut behind him, and I'm begging the officer, please let me go inside. I knew what was about to happen. And then I hear them pinning him up against the wall, handcuffing him. And in that moment, it's like you have to make all these calls. Like, how am I going to act, right? Am I going to act in a way that won't be effective and will just lead to my arrest? What do I do? And so in that moment, it was like, how can I help this person? I start screaming their rights through the wall so he can hear me, right? And later on, I was able to visit that person in detention. And when I found out that his document said refused to sign, it was like, okay, this is why we do this. Because in the immigration space, that's huge, right? When they're trying to force people to sign their voluntary deportation orders, right? And coercing people into doing things like that. And remembering, I just remember that moment where I'm screaming through the wall.
Oh my God.
Don't sign anything. You have the right to remain silent. You know what I mean? And then knowing that that helped in a moment where I felt like I had no power,
Yeah.
you know? And so for me, that was the moment where it's like, these individuals who are being persecuted by ICE every single day, they don't have a choice but to fight for their survival. So why do I think that I have a privilege not to fight? It's not a choice for me.
Yeah.
And it's not a choice for them.
That's right. That's right. In that moment, where do you muster up the courage, the strength? Where does that come from?
I think it comes from the community, and I don't mean it in like this abstract, poetic way. No.
Yeah.
It comes from when shit hits the fan. I can think of the dozens and hundreds of faces of immigrants that come through our office, that come through our clinics, that come to our food distributions. And so it's very real to me. You know what I mean? Like, I have real people, human beings that I've spoken to, that I've laughed with, that I've seen their babies born. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And so for me, it's personal. You know? And I think that's what we lack in this movement, is that we forget that there are people who are being impacted, and their children and the people they love, and it's just so much more than a story you're scrolling through your feed, you know?
When you're talking to them, when you're giving them advice, when you're working with them, how do you provide hope in a time that's so full of frustration and anger and ugh?
You know the saying, Mariam Kaba said, hope is a discipline, right?
Wow.
And that's big for me because I'm a very incredulous person. We've seen too much. It's hard to have that positive outlook and that sense of hope and everything is going to be okay. It's hard for me to have that, you know? But I remind myself that to be in this movement, right? To fight for a world that's better for the most vulnerable person in the world, because that's our goal.
Yeah.
How much more hopeful is, I mean, what can be more encompassing than that, right? Like, that is hope. And so I'm fighting for hope. I have to have hope. And I think my ability to tell people that, because I kid you not, I've had people tell me, I almost didn't make it to this appointment because I had plans on taking my life because I just can't do this anymore. And I can't promise them that their case is going to be won. There's no guarantees, right?
Right.
But I can promise them that NorCal Resist, we are going to be with you every step of the way, right? And sometimes in that community is where I get the hope, because I can promise that, because I know the community we've built as an organization, you know what I mean, and as a movement, that we show up.
Yeah.
And that's the difference.
And that could mean the difference to everyone in a moment where they don't have anything or anyone, or it feels that way, right? Yeah. Tell us a little bit about the core offerings of NorCal Resist, and how are you equipping people out there for this moment in time?
Yeah, so NorCal Resist was born to be that political hub for organizing. Our core value is actually this concept of mutual aid. And that idea is that I will uplift my neighbor when they're at their lowest, so that when they're stronger tomorrow, they'll uplift another.
Yes.
That is our pure mission, right? Because that's how we think we break the cycle. And we've seen it. I mean, I don't know if you remember a couple years back during the pandemic, Governor Abbott from Texas bussed over some Venezuelans
Yes.
and left them on the side of the highway
Yeah.
in Sacramento.
Yeah.
NorCal Resist picked them up from the side of the road. And
Wow.
we still have a profound relationship with them. And in fact, they still come back and volunteer. Now they're in a better position.
Yeah.
And one of them actually leads our food distribution program today.
Wow.
So I can't think what more, can exemplify mutual aid than this person who came and was dropped off on the side of the highway with nothing and is now coming back
Yes.
and helping people and takes it so seriously. Like his goal is, I want to make sure these families have food, right? And so that is at the core of everything we do. And our programming, I know we're known a lot for immigrant rights work, but for us, it's all interconnected, right? So let's go back to 2020 when we were on the ground protesting against police brutality after George Floyd was killed.
That's right.
Like the string of murders, right?
Yeah.
NorCal Resist started a bail fund to make sure that we could get our activists out when they were arrested for protesting, right? NorCal Resist make sure that they were bringing waters, right? And helping people who were there because it was hot when we were taking those streets over, right?
I remember.
It meant starting a brake light clinic because we know that Black and brown people often get stopped because their headlights aren't working. And that can escalate, that could even be deadly, right?
Yeah.
So it's trying to just make sure that we're addressing ways to protect each other because we know, unfortunately, the government, law enforcement isn't going to keep us safe. So we took that upon ourselves, right, to make sure that we're creating the safe structures and spaces for the most vulnerable to be able to be uplifted.
Yeah. It's so funny that you're talking about law enforcement because it's almost like a rear view mirror moment now for me. It's like, oh yeah, that's right. Cops were doing some and still do, but has the relationship between NorCal Resist and local law enforcement changed during these times? Or is it still like, nah, we see you?
NorCal Resist, from its inception, was clear that we will never collaborate with any law enforcement agency. For us, every cop is a bad cop, and it's not about the individual person, because I'm sure there's some good people, right? That's not the critique.
Yeah.
It's as an institution, law enforcement has always destroyed our communities. And so for us, ICE, a police officer, or a prosecutor, they're all cops. And so for us, there is no room for collaboration there because I promise you, and we've seen it here in Sacramento, when shit hits the fan and let's say there's a protest or let's say ICE agents feel threatened because we're so dangerous, right? SAC PD is there to protect ICE.
Wow.
Not to protect us. And that is the core of law enforcement. They are there to protect each other, to protect those in governance, not the community.
Take me into a moment like that, someone who hasn't seen it. What are the physical and visual cues that they are there not to protect the citizens, but are there to protect another law enforcement agency?
Yeah, I mean, it's incredible because I've been in several situations where I myself have witnessed it, and also, of course, because I'm in the movement, I'm constantly being informed of what's going on the ground, right? And it looks in so many different ways. There's so many subtle cues, right? For example, when one of our observers was getting brutally beaten by
Here in SAC?
Here at the Sacramento Immigration Building, at the John Moss Building. He got beaten by a staff member inside the federal building, their partner or their spouse. And it's funny because federal law enforcement inside of the building, not ICE, but federal officers, Federal Protective Services is the agency, they let that, and mind you, this is a 60-year-old veteran that was being beaten, right? Our volunteer. They let that fight go on for so long when I saw the footage, I couldn't believe it how long that fight lasted, and I don't know how he survived. I mean, it was punches and kicks, and it was feet away from the gate, right? Um, and so it was a very intentional decision not to intervene until the last second they could, right? To make sure that damage was done. Um, and then when SAC PD was called to make an arrest, it was very much so later on, and I mean, this person was let out by end of day, the assailant, right? Um, I've seen it in other situations where there was actually another federal agent who ended up, someone was protesting and they like took down their sign outside of the John Moss building. And so then people didn't know he was an agent because he was dressed differently. And so they start saying, "What are you doing? What are you doing?" And then this agent goes, he's just like, I don't know, there's like this shift and they start getting physically confrontational. SAC PD arrested the person whose poster was taken down and she was pushed instead of the agent who initiated all of the physical contact.
Wow.
And that's just how it always looks, unfortunately. And if you ask law enforcement in many different jurisdictions, they say, "I'm here to keep the peace."
Yeah, that's what I hear.
Right? And
Yeah.
you hear that, but what does
Yeah.
that mean? What does that mean in action? You know? Because for us, ICE is terrorizing our community. That's not peace. And you're going to choose to actively protect ICE over the community you swore to serve. You
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think we process it as an inherent contradiction, but it's just that's what it was designed for, law enforcement.
You're a JD. How do you practice law when there seems that the laws on paper no longer apply?
So I'm not a lawyer yet.
Mm.
I am a law graduate,
Got you.
but I need to take the bar. And I don't want to be a lawyer.
Mm.
And that's why. You see, because I do subscribe to revolutionary ideology, I went into law school despising the law because I understood how our law has always functioned to oppress our people. But I was like, oh, that's the best way that I can help people. I just felt like that was
That's wild.
what I had to do,
Mm-hmm.
right? And then when I left law school, I was like, oh my God, I now really despise the law. And I now hate most lawyers. They're awful. All I saw throughout law school was complacency, greed, selfishness, and any space that I'm in with legal professionals, I do believe in shame. I think we need to start shaming the right people because I don't think people have enough shame these days. Okay.
It is a powerful tool.
Absolutely. There needs to be social consequences. So when law students say, but I have so much student loan debt, I have to go represent Chevron. I have to go and, represent the landlords. No, you don't. And it's not okay. That's not, I have a lot of student loan debt too, let me tell you. But we have to make these decisions, right? And we have to decide who we want to be as people and what values we want to uphold and what institutions we're going to uphold, especially when our people's lives are at stake. People are dying, if not by the policies, directly, people are taking their lives because they just feel like they cannot continue,
Yeah.
And so for me, the field of law it's hard to see myself practicing in a field among something that I just profoundly don't believe in.
Yeah.
And it's devastating to say, that there's not a shred. For me, hope isn't in our institutions. It's not in our laws. It's in our people, And so if these are the things that are harming my people, there's nothing for me over there, right?
Wow. So when you read the law, I, for one, as someone who, I used to tell people, like, I think our law, when you read it, reads beautifully. It's in the practice where it's full of shit. Like it doesn't apply to everyone. It's not real. It's not real. Yeah. Um, when for you, like, you know the law, like, how hard is it to look at something that is could be a really good thing, but it's far from it?
It's hard because I'm going to push back a little bit,
Yeah, yeah.
and I'm going to say that our laws are actually functioning as they were written and intended to function.
Yeah.
Truly. And in fact, if anything, it has been the creative interpretation of people who are radical in movement spaces who are trying to push the law as it was written that we have stuck to those ideals, right?
Yeah.
So, for example, it's funny. The very first immigration law in the United States was in 1790. It was the Naturalization Act, right? And it functioned to create the idea of who is a citizen. And it was very clear, free white men. This excluded women, black people, of course, slaves, indigenous people, free white men, right?
Wow.
The first law was created to create the distinction in a hierarchy of who is worthy, who gets to have rights in this country or not. And every immigration law since has functioned to do the same thing. The second immigration law we had was the Alien and Sedition Acts of 1798, 8 years later. And that was actually tying, it was the first kind of iteration of tying migration to national security and this kind of idea of a threat, a foreign threat coming to domestic land. So I think a lot of the times we think that this this kind of like wave of anti-immigrant rhetoric is new, that the legislation, this is just new, but it has roots from the beginning. And that's true of most of our law in the United States. That's true of law enforcement, born from slave patrols, right? That's true of our carceral system. It's always been to create a very clear hierarchy and make sure there's a class to subjugate. And so for me, I think for me, a world, when I think of an ideal future, law is the last thing that I'm concerned about.
What's the first thing?
The first thing is creating social practices that affirm our sense of humanity.
Yes.
And how does that look like? It looks like making sure that people, and I know it sounds, not to get into like politics, right? But make sure people are housed, taking away this concept that scarcity is good, because that's the core of capitalism, right?
Yeah.
Without scarcity, this diamond isn't valuable, right? Without scarcity, I can't charge more for this banana, right?
Right.
So for me, it's a world without scarcity, because suddenly then we add the inherent value to things, right? So we understand that a human is just a human and not a tool for the creation of profit, right?
Yeah.
That housing is a necessity that a human needs because we value humans,
Right.
so that they're not in this constant state of anxiety, right? So that they can have stability, so that they can actually create and build something new and focus on, the actual like spiritual, right, things that we need as humans, right? So that's what I'm thinking of when I think of a new world.
And that's hope right there. That's hope right there. That makes me smile, right? That's something to aspire to. So you all are all in. You're doing so much for our community in a totally effed up time. How do you all take care of yourselves in a moment like this?
That's $1 million question. And I have to say that I still come, although I'm young, I still come from a generation and a culture, that hustle culture, right? Where it's like, there's no time to stop. It's like, what's next? Let's handle it. We got to go. So I'm still trying to learn that balance. And I think my team, I can tell you, we're ready to go 24/7. And when we say we're the rapid response network, I mean, we are responders. Like, we had a situation where we were so concerned about someone and their mental health. And when they turned off their phone. We thought this was it. So we show up to their apartment. The gate is locked. We hop the fence, get in, pound on the door. And we were minutes from them actually taking their life. Like, a plan was executed. And this was like at 9 p.m. Now, I want to tell you, any other workplace would be like, don't you think it's a little unprofessional for someone you just met for you to like go to their home and things like that? But for us, those kinds of norms don't apply to us. For us, those are constructions of white supremacy, right? For us, our humanity leads. And so in those moments, and I remember, because I did check in with my team because I was a little nervous.
Yeah.
I was like, I think I should go. They're like, trust your gut, go.
Wow.
Right? No hesitation. And thank God we did.
You're in the saving life business. I mean, it's the weirdest thing to, not weird, I have to think of a better way of saying it, but you wouldn't think that an organization like NorCal Resist was saving lives, but you have like, you have story after story of actually saving lives in a very dark time.
Yeah, and I don't know if we want to take the credit for that, because I do think it takes all of us, right? Because if it was just us, right, I don't think that's enough, right? But part of our model is, okay, here's an issue, right? And we understand that we are not the end all be all. We cannot solve every issue alone, right? And so what does this look like now? Okay, making sure we're connecting this person to resources, making sure that, you know, the battle ahead for their circumstances is we're taking a holistic approach. So we're plugging in all these people, and then we're building this community around this person.
Yes.
So it's not NorCal Resist saving a life, it
Right.
becomes the community. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's awesome. I think it's beautiful, and I think it's hard work. Back to my original question: how are y'all taking care of yourself these days?
No, I thought I could get around it.
It was a good try.
Damn it. We're not. We're not. And I think there are periods where that's just like social periods where that's just the reality.
Yeah.
We are in a privileged position where we can make a choice to engage in this work, right? And use any time we can to do it.
Yeah.
I'm privileged because I have a husband at home who is just as committed, who is never gonna give me a hard time because I'm gonna leave at 9 p.m. to go make sure someone is alive, right?
Yeah.
He's gonna come with me. He's gonna be the one hopping the fence.
Wow.
Right?
Wow.
But I also think that the people who are most impacted, they don't have room for self-care. They're in survival mode, you know? And so I think for us, it does feel like an obligation that we don't have these choices to stop in these moments where it's just go, 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 go. And I think our hope is that if we fight enough, we can get to a point of respite where then it's like, okay, we fought, we have some wins, things are a little calmer, and then we can breathe. But we're just not there yet, you know. But hopefully soon, yes.
Yes, yes. What message do you have for the people that are out there right now and are lonely, are scared, are at their wits' end, are days away from making a life choice?
You are worthy, and not to sound corny whatsoever. But I can't tell you how many conversations I've had with people who are feeling just like that, who just have told me, there's nothing left for me to do here. There's no fight left to give. And to think that I might be arrested and tortured in these ICE detention centers, which is truly the conditions that we're seeing inside of these facilities. They're torturous. Why do I fight? And to that I say, because even without knowing you, you have a community that loves you. And that if you do reach out, those people will hold you. And I know that's scary because you've probably faced so much rejection in this world, whether it be from organizations, professionally, your own family, or just society in the way that they turn their backs on our immigrant neighbors, right? But I promise you that there are people who are fighting tooth and nail every single day for you without even knowing you, because that's how much we think you matter. And if you need to be reminded, call us and I'll remind you. We'll remind you. And we will bring you in and know that your existence is an act of resistance, is an act of revolution in a society that doesn't want you here. And you have comrades in that fight. You just got to connect with them.
You just have to connect with them. And that
with
can be
your
scary.
Tribe.
Eso. Oh, man. When you think about your life right now and where you're at and what you are committing yourself to, what 2 or 3 things do you just find yourself being filled with gratitude for?
I am so grateful for my husband. I have to say, I never imagined myself happily married. I thought my marriage was going to be to my work, to my community, because I could not deal with a man, okay? I could not deal with the machismo, with the toxicity. I had things to do. I'm busy.
No, I love it.
But my husband and I are worlds apart, okay? We are, I'm Latina, first generation, right, in this country. Was the first one, to graduate college.
Wow.
I was definitely the first to graduate law school. I broke so many barriers, right? And, he comes from a very educated family, right? And, he's a white presenting Jewish man. And when I see his worldview, that gives me hope to circle back, because this is a man who sees the world. There's a solution for everything if we just fight enough. And he fights every day, right? He started a Books to Prisoners program. He helps incarcerated workers organize for better conditions.
Wow.
He helps folks organize their workplaces. He is leading this fight, even though you can consider him this very privileged person who could ignore the fight. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
and
exactly.
could live the best life ignoring it. And the fact that he sees me, supports me, that he accepts all of my trauma, because that's some baggage.
Gonna have you back on.
Yeah. On the next episode.
On the next episode with Giselle.
And he's willing to fight alongside me, right?
Yeah.
I am so grateful, and I don't think maybe I don't give him his flowers enough. But I think that it's very important. And for me, it was breaking so many generational curses, right?
Wow.
Something I never saw myself in, and I found myself in in a beautiful, healthy marriage, right? With someone who I know is fighting alongside me every step of the way in this revolution.
It's a beautiful
right?
thing. Yeah.
I'm lucky, and I'm so blessed, and I recognize that. And I'm blessed that I think this is our Nicaraguan side. We have conviction to no end.
Yeah.
When we stand on business, we stand on business.
100.
No me muevo. Like, I am stone cold. Like, I'm not moving, right?
Yep.
And to me, that has been so important, because I can't imagine what it would feel like blowing through the wind in this political climate, without having a value system that I stand on.
Yeah.
Like, can you imagine?
No.
No. And so for me, that kind of conviction, it grounds me and it keeps me going. And so I'm grateful that I didn't lose it along the way, despite our entire society doing its best to take that from us, because as Latinos, as, coming from this long line of immigrants, we are taught that we are second class, that we are here to keep our head down. We're here to work, to contribute, and expect nothing in return, right? And so for us to be able to stand on business and break all of that conditioning, I'm grateful. I'm grateful, and I'm grateful that I have a community to do it with, right? Because it can feel lonely. I can't imagine, right? And so I'm glad that I found my tribe, that I'm connecting with people like you, other revolutionaries, and that we're going to keep going to the end. I always say, by trial or by fire, we're going to win this thing.
Giselle, you are a real one. I feel such a connection to your spirit and your values. NorCal Resist, thank you for everything you're doing during this difficult moment, for being a light to people. And if you are listening, I want you to just stay tuned just a little bit longer. Giselle, if someone's listening to this or watching this and they're like, hey, I'm in, I want to get involved, how do I help? How can they support NorCal Resist right now?
Please plug in. As much as I want everyone to join NorCal Resist, and you can email us, find us on Instagram, go to an event, dip your toes, and get to know us. You'll see us all there. If it's not NorCal Resist, find the home that propels you to action. Because it's not enough to go to a parade, a protest, and then you go home and go about your day and your life.
Yeah.
No, you need to find a space that has, action plans, things that are materially impacting people day to day.
Yeah.
And that fit your value system, And so if NorCal Resist reflects those values, please join us.
Yeah.
But if NorCal Resist might not be the space for you, find one, because there's no excuse in this moment of time not to act.
Yep. Change has two active participants: those who are the victims of the change, and those who create a better way forward, and create positive change. So we all have a choice, people. Thank you, NorCal Resist, for being on the right side of history. Love y'all.
Thank you, Adrian.
Thank you.
You're the best.
Thank you to the Rink Studios for letting us use their awesome space. They've been such a great partner to the community of Del Paso Heights. Thank you for listening or watching, however you're taking this information in. And y'all, please stay safe, stay strong. We'll see you again for another exciting episode of the In Our Tribe podcast. Peace and blessings.